Alec Lasley joining us from Indiana Rivals, the Hoosier.com. Make sure you go there. Hey, they got a great deal right now. Tell us about that, Alec.
Yeah, so obviously with the start of the college basketball season, just a few days away, up through the end of next week, we're running a 30 days free promo. So as long as you sign up before the end of next week to kind of celebrate the start of Mike Woodson's era, you're gonna get a month free over on the Hoosier.com.
Can't have enough of that, and some inside information. What's going on in the world of recruiting? I know recently Indiana did not land the big man. Anytime that someone goes to a visit last, I just always think that they have the advantage. And of course, Alabama got the last visit.
I think the biggest thing was, obviously we talked about it last week before he ended up making his decision, was it was going to come down most likely to style of play. And that's why Indiana and Alabama were both out in front there. I think the biggest thing at the end of the day was he had actual game footage to really look back on from Alabama, how fast they want to play, how up-tempo they want to play. With Mike Woodson, you just had 2 games in the Bahamas. Obviously, it wasn't true to form of exactly how they're going to look this upcoming season either. So I think at the end of the day, Noah Clowney just looked at what he already knew that Alabama was going to have, and the fact that they really didn't have a ton of big men. So he knew he was going to come in and play almost immediately and have a significant role immediately. And I think that's what kind of pushed him over the top at the end of the day.
But now as Indiana moves forward, the recruiting continues to move in that direction. Gabe Cups is a name that pops up a lot. People ask about a lot. He's taken a lot of unofficial visits to Indiana. Yeah,
exactly. He's been on campus 4 different times since June, and 3 different times since this fall really began. Biggest thing with him, obviously, he set his top 3 schools. Not a huge surprise out of any of them: Ohio State, Indiana, and then Stanford. He took a visit out to Stanford a few weeks ago. There was some thought that maybe Michigan would be able to kind of work their way into some sort of top 3, top 4 list. But at the end of the day, these were the 3 schools that I think had the biggest impact with him early on and have been involved with him for some of the longest time. And when I talked to him over the weekend, when he did drop those final 3 schools, biggest thing he said was he can't make a wrong decision. So now it just comes into the fine-tuned details of exactly what he's looking for out of a school to ultimately make that choice. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to Ohio State and Indiana. I think those two programs, especially with Mike Woodson and what he wants to do with point guards, with ball handlers, and the tradition that they have and that he's going to now be bringing back to Bloomington, I think that really sets them apart. But he definitely was very vocal about the in-state school as well, and having that draw of staying in-state and being that guy too. So I think it comes down to those 2. Look for a decision probably in the next 2 months, but he's open to make a decision whenever he feels 100% ready. So it could come at any time.
And making it 2 months, that gives the season time to open up a little bit and for him to actually watch Indiana and the style of play that they're going to have. Because like you said, Mike Woodson doesn't have tape of his teams playing, Dylan. So that'll give him opportunities to show a lot of different guys, hey, this is what we want to do. But that's if the guys are doing what he wants them to do.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big thing going forward. I guess my question for Alec is, so Indiana has recruited. They've already kind of put their stamp on what they want in recruiting. They want these guys who are combo guards, who can play multiple positions, who can guard multiple positions, and who can shoot it from the outside. Gabe Cups kind of fits that mold as well. Is that something that you think is going to be a factor in this?
Yeah, I think the bigger thing is Mike Woodson always moving forward is going to want as many ball handlers, like you said, that he can get on the floor, but he also is going to need some true playmakers and some true point guards, and that's exactly what Gabe Cups is. So where you may have a Jalen Hood-Schifino or Ja'Kai Newton or anyone like that who can play, maybe off the ball a little bit more as well than on the ball, Gabe Cups is mainly going to be an on-the-ball kind of guy, but he's a guy who's going to make plays for his teammates and make life a lot easier for a Jalen Hood-Schifino or a Ja'Kai Newton or a CJ Gunn, anyone who's looking to be a little bit more of a scoring threat. And Gabe Cups can still shoot the ball pretty well from deep, about a 36% shooter last year. So not going to see a huge drop-off in terms of his shooting ability there. But the biggest thing with him is he just makes winning plays. He knows how to win. He knows how to lead a team. And in the Big Ten, in any type of program that wants to go deep in the NCAA tournament, you're going to need a guy like a Gabe Cups, who senior year is a guy who is clearly running this program and can win 2, 3, even 4 games in his career in the NCAA tournament. And that's exactly what you're going to get out of Gabe Cups, and that ability to really kind of run the show offensively.
Well, now Indiana did not get, going back to Clowney, obviously they wanted that big man to go in there. Are they going to turn to the transfer portal, or is it a continued recruiting? Because not really a lot of names that's been thrown around. So do they move to the portal to fill that void, or just continue on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, I mean, with the season beginning, obviously, in the next few days, everything, at least in the 2022 class, is going to pretty much turn to the transfer portal, which is probably, in my mind, a lot better than looking to kind of get a late bloomer in the spring for the recruiting trail. But even though I say that, I mean, look what he did with Tamar Bates this spring. So I think he's still going to leave that option open. But at the end of the day, I still think you're going to see a lot more players, like we've talked about over the last year, enter the portal, especially after this year, and really look for somewhere else. So I think kind of all attention turns to the transfer portal at this point, and you're going to get another guy, most likely in that 2022 class, who's already had some college experience.
Tim's asking about Austin Parks, 6'10", 2023 guy.
Yeah, so from Ohio, not ranked in the Rivals 150 as of right now, but a guy who's had a really, really good spring and summer. He released his top 5 yesterday: Indiana, West Virginia, Dayton, Michigan State, and Ohio State. Not really sure exactly how Indiana totally fits in this aspect. They've obviously recruited him decently hard up to this point. He's been on campus to Michigan State, to Dayton, Ohio State, and Indiana as well, all throughout the summer and fall. So I think he's going to end up at a Big Ten school, but I wouldn't throw away Dayton as a little bit of a sleeper in this top 5 at this point.
Dylan?
Yeah, I guess the question is, going forward, is how basically when do you need a new big man for IU? Because they have Michael Durr for the next couple of years here. They have Logan Duncombe, who they believe can be pretty good as well. Those are guys that can be the type of big that Mike Woodson wants. So you have a chance. You have you can wait a little while to go get someone from the transfer portal. I feel like that's going to give them a little bit of flexibility going forward.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, assuming Michael Durr stays, how healthy can he really be? Obviously, he's been banged up so far this summer. Hasn't had an injury. Hasn't had a lot of injuries throughout his career, but that's obviously one thing to watch going forward. But we saw over the last few seasons with the previous Indiana teams that you need multiple big men and multiple guys who you can throw in the front court, who, even if their role is just to get a couple rebounds a game, that's what their role is. So I think you're going to see Mike Woodson really go out there and try to get a high-impact big man, a guy who's going to come in immediately and average double digits, because you're going to lose a lot with Race Thompson and Trace Jackson-Davis this season, and you're going to need some point production out of that front court, because Michael Durr only averaged about 9 points for his career so far. Obviously, we don't really know what we have in Logan Duncombe, but he's not going to be a guy who's going to put up 10 points a game this year or next year. So you need a big guy who can come in, score easily, and get you some easy points, because you're obviously pushing to have a better shooting team, but the roster is still very, very much in flux over the next year. We don't know how many guys are going to be coming back. We don't know how many guards are going to be coming back. So you're going to need a lot of help in that front court, and you're going to need a guy who's going to be able to come in immediately and do that. So I would look for Mike Woodson to, at the top of his priority list throughout this spring and this transfer portal season, to go out and get a guy who's going to come in and play big time minutes right away.